If you've quit drinking, you're going to want to know how to get through Christmas and New Year, the whole of the festive period sober. And I'm going to give you some tips, especially if this is your first Christmas without drinking. I'm going to make sure you're set for success and that you don't feel like you're hanging on in there and struggling. You're actually enjoying yourself and showing up and having a great time throughout the whole of the festive period. So let's get into the tips. I'm going to give you 21 strategies that you can use to make sure you have the best Christmas ever. I've even worn my sober AF jumper, which was a Christmas present somebody got me last year to celebrate the fact that it's the festive season and we need to focus on enjoying ourselves. And I truly believe that the best present you can get at Christmas is being fully present, being present for your friends, for your family, being truly present and engaged yourself in everything that's going on around you without detaching by using alcohol. So let's look at what you can do to ensure you have a great Christmas when you've quit drinking. So the first festive tip is to plan some sober-based activities over the festive period. There are loads of sober communities on Facebook, Instagram. You can watch live videos from people who talk about sobriety. You've got YouTube channels like mine, online programs. There's all sorts going on. I'm even hosting a live stop drinking workshop on the 2nd of January for anyone who pre-orders my new book that comes out on Christmas Eve. So make sure you've got some sober focused activities lined up. Now that could just be getting a new book like mine and reading a chapter every single day. My book actually takes you over 50 days. You read one chapter a day for 50 days and it takes you on a path from the very start of quitting alcohol right through to the end of your journey where you're set for success to carry on. But whatever it is you decide to do, make sure you've got some sober focused activities that you can do over that festive period. That could be journaling, that could be listening to podcasts, it could be live events, it could be meeting up with people if it's possible for you to do that. But whatever it is, get some things in your diary so that you've got that support, that connection around you, and you've got sobriety activities that you can focus on. The second tip is along the same sort of theme, but not so sober focused. Fill your diary with positive activities. That could be days out with friends, days out with family. It could be exercising, relaxing, or anything involving self-love and being kind to yourself. Whatever it is, make sure you've got some really positive activities lined up over the festive period where alcohol is not at the center of the show. You don't want to be going for boozy nights out with your friends and standing in the corner, drinking water and wondering why they're all drinking and you're not, because it's going to make you struggle. You're going to need willpower to get through that. You're probably not going to enjoy it either. You'd be much better off going to the cinema, going out bowling with your friends, your family, or doing something that you really enjoy, walks in nature, or doing some kind of exercise activity. Whatever it is that brings you joy and lights you up. I often encourage people to think back to when they were younger. What was it when you were a kid that used to light you up, that you would do it for hours and hours and you would lose track of time? Maybe it was something to do with crafts, art, music, reading, whatever it is. Get back into that. Get some activities planned around it, whether it's hobbies, days out, or a mixture of all of those. Make sure you fill your diary with nourishing things that are going to create nice memories for you and add to your overall sense of happiness. My third tip is to take any steps you need to avoid feeling lonely. Many people are on their own over the Christmas period, and it's important, again, to make plans so you can connect with people throughout that time. You don't want to be feeling lonely. Loneliness is part of HALT, H-A-L-T. When you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, it can make you feel triggered to want to drink. So if you feel that there's a chance you might get lonely over that period, ensure you do something about it. Make sure you're part of communities online, particularly the sober communities like my own, and do whatever you need to do to connect with people. Another great tip is to make sure each morning you write down your intentions for the day. What jobs have you got planned? What is it you plan to do? and then spread them out over the day so they last for the whole day. Don't get all your tasks completed by lunchtime and then spend the entire afternoon sitting around feeling bored. Extend the breaks that you have between the different tasks and see how long you can make them last so they last all day. That's a great way to stay busy throughout the course of the day and not to feel like the morning is super busy and then in the afternoon you're sat around, you start feeling bored and lonely. But you've got to make plans as well. You need to try and put one foot in front of the other and get involved in things. Get yourself out there, make new friends, connect with people through whatever it is that brings you joy and that you're going to find nourishing and really fun or engaging at this time of year. My fourth tip is to write down any potential threats to your sobriety over the festive period. We've all got that uncle or aunt who will come over on Christmas Day and drink until they fall asleep. Maybe they are a trigger for you, or possibly going to somebody else's house is going to be a challenge for you. Get really, really honest with yourself and ask yourself, what are the places? Who are the people? What are the behaviors? What are the situations that might cause a threat to your sobriety? Just be completely honest. You don't need to share this with anyone. Just write it down on a piece of paper or in your journal. And once you've got that information, it can serve you so well, because once you know that, you can put some boundaries in place. If you feel that a particular person coming to your home on Christmas Day is going to be a threat to your sobriety, then take whatever steps you need to put the appropriate boundaries in place. Part of the journey to quitting drinking is learning to say no and learning to speak our truth. And it might feel uncomfortable and awkward setting those boundaries, but you need to do it. Your sobriety needs to come first. And if you feel something or someone is going to be a threat to that, you need to get really clear on it at the start, and you need to do whatever you need to do to keep your sobriety safe. My fifth tip is to write down what you'll do if you experience any kind of tough period or difficult moments throughout the festive season. Will you call someone, or will you reach out in a Facebook group or community? What is it you'll do if you start to have strong cravings or really have a tough time with uncomfortable emotions? Who is it you're going to reach out to? Again, write it down and get a plan in place so you know exactly what you need to do if things start to feel tough. Maybe it's somebody that you live with that you know you can lean on, or maybe it's somebody who you connect with virtually in an online group. Whatever it is, make sure you've already thought about it and you've already planned for it. For my sixth tip, I want you to be clear on who you think might raise any kind of negative emotions in you. I know we talked about people who could be a threat to your sobriety, but you can't always set boundaries for everybody. So pay attention to who might cause feelings of tension or stress, especially on Christmas Day. Christmas brings about a lot more tension, heightened anxiety than other times of the year. And if you can identify who might raise your emotions or bring out any kind of emotional trigger in you, then you can make a commitment to yourself for the festive period, and you can write this down. Commit to not getting involved in any squabbles or any fights. Commit to just walking away and being the bigger person over the festive period. Believe me, it will serve you. If you can just walk away, not get involved in drama, you're going to find that you're in a much more peaceful and calmer place to enjoy the festive season as you should, as you deserve. So commit to just walking away from any squabbles. You don't want that extra stress. You don't need that extra stress. That's not to say let people walk all over you. There are times when you need to stand up for yourself and when you need to speak what's on your mind. But maybe you could just commit to walking away from them for Christmas Day or for the festive period, and then you can deal with those things after. And often once the dust has settled and once you've calmed down, you're not so bothered about it anyway. It doesn't feel quite so big. But be the bigger person over the festive period. It will serve you well. My ninth tip is to take it one day at a time. Christmas Day is 24 hours. New Year's Eve, it's only a few hours. Don't give it more power than it actually deserves. We can make these things seem a whole lot bigger in our mind, but they come and they go so quickly. Try and keep it in perspective that it's not a month long. It doesn't last forever. Christmas Day, you're probably awake for maybe 12 or 13 hours. It's not that long and it's over before you know it. Keep it in perspective and don't give it too much power. My 10th suggestion is to write down what you love about the festive period, as well as what triggers you and what could be a threat to your sobriety. Dive into the things that you like and reach out for help with the things that you don't. For example, you might absolutely hate cooking the Christmas dinner. It might be really triggering for you. You might associate cooking with drinking and identify that you want to stay well away from that. But identify what you love. Maybe you love opening the presents and spending time with the children after they've opened theirs. Maybe you love going for a nice walk on Christmas morning. Identify what you enjoy and do more of that. And that leads me to my 11th tip, which is to actually plan out your Christmas day, almost hour by hour. What will you be doing for the first hour or two? Plan your Christmas breakfast. And then what will you be doing from 10 a.m. through to midday till 2 p.m.? Make sure it's planned. Make sure you know where you're at. Visualize it. Think about exactly how that's going to look for you across Christmas Day. And if you need to do that on any other days where you've got friends, family coming over, or where you're visiting people, absolutely do it. The more you visualize, the more you plan ahead, the more prepared you feel. And I'd urge you to do that, even if you need to write it down in your journal, exactly how the entire day is going to go. And when you know what's going to happen, you've got a plan in place. Think about in the past when you've worried about things and those worries seem so big, so scary. And then when you get a piece of paper out and start writing it all down, you get a plan and they don't seem quite so worrying any longer. Do the same with this. You'll thank yourself for it afterwards. My next tip is to plan what you'll be drinking ahead of time. It can be all too easy for somebody to offer you a drink, especially if you're going to their place. And before you know it, you've taken a glass and you might have alcohol in your hand. Whereas if you've planned what you're going to drink and you've got an alcohol-free beverage that you can have instead, keep your glass full, keep it in your hand. Nobody's going to even offer you a drink. Make a personal commitment that that's what you'll be drinking over the festive period. My next tip is to notice any feelings or emotions that come up within you and note them down. So you can look closer at these when the time is right. You probably won't want to do it on Christmas Day, but when you feel ready, you can refer back to your journal and explore what came up for you. Use an emotion wheel if you need to. You can just Google emotion wheel and you'll be able to find one. But notice all the feelings. There might be heightened anxiety. You might be worrying, or you might feel happier than normal. Pay attention to it all. Put a label on the feelings. If you get time, start exploring it. Start noticing what's caused it, whether it's positive feelings or feelings that you consider negative, and just start to think about them. Think about where they're coming from and see what you can learn from it. See what they're telling you without any judgment and with complete curiosity. My next tip is to always play things forward by 24 to 48 hours. Think about if you were to take a drink, if you were feeling tempted, what the next 24 hours would look like. I know that if I took a drink on Christmas Day, it would probably be around midday. And sure, for an hour or so, I might feel more relaxed. I might think that I was being funnier. But after that, I would probably get kind of grumpy, snappy, argumentative, and I wouldn't be very nice to be around. And that drinking would continue for the rest of the day. I'd probably end up arguing with my wife and my son, and I'd end up falling up the stairs, possibly being sick later in the day. And then I'd wake up on Boxing Day with a hangover, full of regret, no motivation, no energy. I might have promised to take my son out for the day, but I don't want to do that because I've been drinking. And of course, because I've been drinking, I'm going to be craving even more. I'm going to want it again. So it wouldn't have just been one drink. It would have been the start of another lifetime of addiction. And I don't want that. So think about if you were to drink, what the next 24 hours would look like, the next 48 hours, and even the next week, the next month, the next year. How will that look? And use your journal to visualize this. My next tip is quite simple. If you're feeling tempted to drink and emotions are heightened particularly, or if you're just feeling calm and you think that drinking would be a good idea, or if you're feeling really happy and you want to celebrate with alcohol, simply ask yourself the question, Will alcohol help in this situation? How will alcohol help? How will alcohol add to this situation? And when you start to look into that, get curious about it, get some rationality around it, almost always there's no justification, there's no sense in actually drinking. My next tip is, if you're feeling down, ask yourself this simple question. So, if you're feeling kind of stressed out, or you feel like things aren't going your way, or you're just feeling generally low over the festive period, ask yourself where you can find the good in that situation. There's almost always something you could find. The silver lining on the cloud. Try and look for that and explore it in a bit more depth. Because although things can seem really bad at the time, or you feel really down, or sad, or worried, or angry, generally, when you ask yourself where the good is in that particular situation or that particular feeling, you can find something. And there's normally a lesson in there. There is normally some good that you can pull out of it. So always ask yourself that when you're feeling not at 100%, where is the good in this? Life coach Tony Robbins talks about this quite a bit, and I'd urge you to try it. Next time you're not feeling your best self, where is the good in this? My next tip is to reflect on how far you've come and where you are right now. Even if you're on day one and you've had multiple day ones, you can use your journal and any past information that you've got to look at where you were compared to where you are now. The festive period's a great time for reflection, and I'd urge you just to spend some time looking at how much better equipped you are, how far you've come since you started exploring sobriety. And as I say, even if you don't feel like you've got it cracked yet, you can still congratulate yourself, because even if you've had 50 day ones, that means you've had 50 lessons that have taught you something, made you stronger, and set you up for that future sober success that you're so going to love when you get there. Don't beat yourself up about it. I had tons and tons of day ones before I finally felt like I had it cracked. Those day ones are there to teach us a lesson. It's not a straight line journey. It isn't for anybody. So make sure you take the time to reflect on how far you've come and notice how much stronger you are now, how much better equipped you are now than you were when you started exploring sobriety. The next tip is to make new sober Christmas traditions. Maybe you had alcohol-based traditions when you were drinking. It could be that you used to drink champagne with your breakfast, or Baileys on Christmas morning. Well, make some new ones. Throw those old alcohol-based traditions out of the window and create new sober traditions for the new version of you. Maybe you'll take a morning Christmas walk. Maybe you'll create a wonderful Christmas breakfast with some lovely freshly squeezed orange juice and freshly ground coffee. Maybe you'll do a morning Christmas meditation, whatever it needs to be, but create some new sober traditions and get rid of the old traditions that were based around alcohol. The next tip is to embrace Jomo. Now, I mentioned Jomo, which is the joy of missing out, quite a lot. And it's something that I think we all need to experience. Instead of feeling like we're missing out, we're enjoying missing out. And I can relate to this. Last year on New Year's Eve, I remember being at home under a warm blanket that I'd bought myself that same day, and my family and I were sat watching movies with buckets of popcorn as we saw in the new year. Now, I wasn't missing out on standing in the cold, in the rain, feeling drunk in central London with crowds of people trying to get a taxi home. I didn't miss out on anything. I had a wonderful time with my family, and I've still got some great memories about that. Embrace the joy of missing out. Don't feel that if you're not going out with your friends on their boozy night out, that you're missing out on anything, which is why I want you to make sure you organise some activities that are going to create some wonderful memories with the people that you love, the people you really want to be around at Christmas. My next tip is to express gratitude. Christmas is a great time of year for feeling really grateful for what you have in your life. And I don't mean the material things. Think about your family, your friends, the fact that you're healthy and you're fit and you're here right now. the food on your table. Get really grateful about what sobriety's given you. You're probably happier, more engaged, and enjoying a far more peaceful life. Write all of that down and then savor it. Savoring is when we go one level deeper with our gratitude practice. Instead of just writing down 2 or 3 things that we're grateful for, which I'd recommend doing every couple of days, go one step further and get into the detail of why. Why is it you're grateful for that? Why are you grateful for your family? I know it sounds really obvious, but write down the details. Maybe it's the wonderful time you spend together, the fact that you all make each other laugh. Get into the detail of it and it will make you feel all the more grateful. My next tip is to actually enjoy being the designated driver over the Christmas period. Lots of your friends and family, they might want lifts after they've been out to their work party or they've been out drinking, and people are going to appreciate you. You'll feel a sense of joy from helping them out. Taxis over Christmas cost a fortune, and it can be a lovely, kind gesture to help people throughout that time. And my last tip is so important. And if you take anything away from this, take this one away. Say no whenever you need to. Please, no people pleasing. You're probably going to get offered drinks. You might have people asking you why you're not drinking. Your life is way better now. You're sober. Make sure you plan what you're going to say and say no whenever you need to. And even if you're not sober yet and you're working on it, you're doing great. But make sure you start learning to find your no. Stop people pleasing and start being honest, sharing your authentic self and expressing your true feelings. It's going to really help you as you go forward. That's one huge Christmas gift that you can give to yourself. And one huge Christmas gift you could give to me is getting your hands on my new book. I really would love you to get your hands on that for Christmas and let me know what you think about it. There's a free 2-hour workshop for anyone who orders it before the release date. And I hope I'm going to see you there. Have a great Christmas.